thumbs up if we could see it. See the slide deck? Okay.
It's not in presentation style, but yes.
I'm sorry?
Oh, it's good now. It's good.
It's good? Okay. So I talked with Linda, Linda Howard, who's our recruiting director and also heads up our marketing. She's here with us, and she said that the title of tonight's program that went out on social media was New Challenges Affecting the Accounting Profession and How to Overcome Them. And I'm going to take a different angle. You know, yes, it has been a challenging year. And I'll share with you a lot about that, but it's been really a year that's created a lot of opportunity and a lot of change and a lot of dynamic developments. And so I wanted to talk about how the pandemic has affected the accounting profession and how you might think about entering the workforce. I think that we've got some interesting things to share with you. Some you may have heard, some you may not have heard, but that's the angle that we're going to take. So I'll go ahead and let the rest of my team introduce themselves. Why don't we just go in order from the way the screens are. Chris, you can go, then Sean and Linda.
All right, you got it. Yeah, so nice to meet you all. It's good to be back at another CSUN presentation. So yeah, well, as I see on the screen, my name is Chris Spates, and I attended CSUN, graduated from CSUN in 2018. And subsequently, literally the next month after graduation, I started at Martini Akpovi Partners. But before that, I also interned with them for 2 terms. And you know, in the first internship term, which was in the summer, was more focused on the tax side. So I did some tax work. And then the second internship was focused on audit, you know, on helping the audit department out. So, and yeah, I was just more interested in the audit side of the work. So, hey, I asked if anything was available, and so be it. Fortunate for me, there was. So, you know, other things, it was real quick, other personal things about me. You know, me personally, I love gaming. I'm a big gamer. So when I wasn't studying for the CPA, when I'm not working, you can find me online, probably playing some games. But yeah, glad to be here.
And also, Chris is already certified.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that, right? Yeah, I passed all the CPA exams last year.
I got it done.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Chris. That is actually news to me, so I didn't know about that. So congratulations. My name is Sean Kagan. I'm one of the few from MAP that did not graduate from CSUN. I graduated from University of Laverne. Similar with Chris, I started as an intern right from college. It was my only intern I've ever done. Right after the internship, I got hired as tax. Audit was never in the picture for me. I know I've always wanted to do tax. I've been with the firm about 5 years, and now I'm a senior associate for tax. I love what I do, and Martini Akpovi has been a great firm for me. I have no desire to leave. Also, a few fun facts is, one, I'm not a gamer. I'm really bad at gaming, but I'm really into sports. I played collegiate football at University of Laverne. And I also play every sport that you can name, from tennis, golf, baseball, basketball, swimming, diving. I just love to be in the outdoors. And then that's all. Linda?
Wait, real quick, and just so you all know, Sean broke my heart. I wanted him to join my audit team, but he was straight up tax all the way.
Hi everyone, my name's Linda Howard. I recognise quite a few of the names on the screen from Meet the Firms and other CSUN events, so it's nice to see you all again. I've been with MAP about 4 years. I'm the recruitment and the marketing specialist, so I get to do all the fun things like our podcast and organise the webinars. Before I joined MAP. You can probably tell from my accent. I'm from England. So I didn't go to CSUN. I graduated from the University of Warwick in business. And I worked for a couple of banks there, one large bank and one startup in various strategy and marketing roles. Fun fact for me, I took some time out and went to India. And while I was at a yoga school in India, I met my husband, who's American. So we decided to live in America, in LA, rather than London. So that's kind of how I crossed the pond.
All right, thanks guys. Okay, so let's kind of talk about what's happened over the last, oh boy, how long is it now? 13, 14 months since everything basically kind of got shut down. So we'll talk from the perspective of MAP's client base. It was really, really interesting what we saw because companies were impacted by COVID-19 along industry lines. So there are certain industries that just got hammered. So any of our clients in the entertainment space, serving the entertainment sector, or in the restaurant or food service sector, other than kind of sort of more wholesale, were really, really, really significantly impacted. But some of our clients actually had record years where they did better than they did at any time in their inception. Those would be companies aligned with the defense sector, automotive did really well. So it was just really interesting to see how it played out. Some clients were hit hard initially and they either recovered or pivoted. You know, we had a client, we have a client that's in Las Vegas, a company called Screaming Images, and they do large print jobs for the casinos where they do those big building wraps and those big, huge banners you see on a hotel when there's a fight. And they pivoted to using their machinery to make plexi shields that would go in between gaming tables and in between office cubicles. So we saw a lot of that where companies got creative and changed their business model after, and it generally took them a month or two, but they were able to pivot and keep their business going. And, you know, sadly, some clients just didn't make it. They were just in the wrong industry and they just couldn't survive the storm. That wasn't a lot for us. Overall, as a firm, we did pretty well. We were very close to the same top line revenue numbers as we were in the year before, and that was in the pandemic. And as it relates to our clients, some worked remotely and some did not. It kind of depended on the type of business it was. If it had kind of more of a manufacturing, little blue collar type workforce, you know, obviously you can't do that remotely, but some of the office folks were working remotely. So that's what we saw with our client base. With our COI base, and our COI, that's centers of influence. Those are the people that we interact with on a professional basis. So those would be the bankers, the attorneys, financial advisors, investment bankers, insurance folks. Virtually all of those shifted to remote work, and a lot of them are still doing that. We do a lot of networking with folks, and you all, since you're in the association, you network as well. It kind of got pivoted to virtual. We're doing virtual happy hours, virtual wine tastings, even virtual dinners. I've been to virtual charity events, and so it's been really, really interesting. And I'll tell you what I'm beginning to see over the last month is virtual meeting fatigue. I think that people are just getting tired of it. I mean, it's what we got to do to keep things going, but they're not bringing the same level of energy that you saw in the earlier months. See a lot of emerging real estate strategies. So because we're expecting in a lot of professional sectors that there will be some level of hybrid working where people will be perpetually working from home part-time, companies don't need as large of a real estate footprint. So you're seeing some pretty big hits on commercial real estate where there's going to be some vacancies as we emerge from COVID. The banks, they weren't writing a lot of credit, new credit, but they were, if it was a really solid company, but they were super busy with the payroll protection program loans. Did a lot of that. Law firms were jamming. They didn't seem to take a hit at all, especially if they were doing employment law, because once everyone mobilized remote workforces, you had all these employment law implications of how to deal with certain things. Insurance was stable. They had, everyone still had to be insured. Investment banking is hot. The transaction market, believe it or not, during the past 13, 14 months has been on fire. I mean, there are deals getting done and companies are buying and selling. And most professional services firms overall seem to have done pretty well. I have not come across very many that have not done well at all. So let's talk about accounting firms specifically. So MAP is a member of a network of affiliated firms. It's called Prime Global. It's the 5th largest affiliated firm network in the country. And that gives us the ability to tap into the resources of other firms nationwide and even internationally, and also knowledge share and bounce ideas off of each other. So when it comes to how accounting firms have reacted to this, particularly as it relates to work from home, it doesn't matter how big the firm is, they all did it differently. So there were some, I think all the big 4 went to full virtual, okay? And a lot of the nationals, but once you dropped out of the big 4 and the nationals and you're in the regionals and locals, some were having their people go back to the office last summer. And I don't know how they got their people to do that, because that was when things were nuts and people were getting sick and COVID was spiking, but they made their people go back to the office last year. And I was really surprised. But most were full work from home. A lot of firms are still work from home. A lot of firms have sent their people back as things have begun to recede in the COVID numbers over the more recent months. Some firms, this is very interesting, they're willing to hire out of area people. So they're willing to hire people that will never set foot in one of their offices. It's particularly people that have a narrow specialty and they don't necessarily have to interact with the rest of the folks in the firm. But some firms are looking at that as a strategy, figure that, we've all been working remotely for like over a year. So, if we find the right person and they live in San Francisco, we can hire that person and they could add value to our practice. And what we're seeing kind of across the board in the accounting profession is that as we get into late 2021, the offices will reopen and people will be working some sort of hybrid schedule. So it's expected, with probably 90+% of the accounting firms out there, that there will be some level of hybrid work from home, work from the office type of scenario. So that really impacts, I think, how all you can kind of look at the opportunities as you're looking at firms that you want to potentially work with. How did we handle it? We had made a lot of investments in technology over the years, and we were able to deploy 100% work remote within 1 week's time. I mean, we already had the technology in place. Everyone was already using laptops. We had to buy some extra monitors for some people so they could have a multiple monitor setup. People needed printers and they needed office chairs and things like that. But the core technology was in place for us to keep moving and keep everything going within a week. We undertook a project to reevaluate all of the firm's critical processes, from how we communicate, how we need to be accessible, to recruiting, to training, to mentoring. And the project is still ongoing, but we're looking at how we do things and saying, how can we do them differently and how can we do them better in a hybrid work environment. So we're starting to roll out some of those within the next month or so. We are also looking at a new real estate strategy. So our main office is in Encino, and we have an office in Santa Clarita. If we were all together in the office right now, we wouldn't have enough room in our Encino office for all of our people. So during COVID, we outgrew our space. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a hybrid environment going forward. I would say that 90+% of our people will be working at least 2 days from home. And we're going to have strategic offices in other geographies that people, if they want to go into the office and they don't want to deal with traffic, they don't necessarily have to go to Encino. So we're looking at, so we've got Santa Clarita, we're looking at the San Gabriel Valley, which is like a Glendale, Pasadena. We're looking at the West Side, and we're looking at somewhere up the 101 corridor, which is, you know, between Westlake Village and Ventura. So we are also going to have a different real estate strategy than we've had in the past. And we're looking at creative ways to serve our clients. We're doing a lot of video meetings. Chris has observed physical inventory counts virtually. We've done it using FaceTime and other technologies. One of the things that we're going to pilot with the audit team is this busy season, we normally have closing meetings with our clients. We're going to, in certain circumstances, record those and send the video clip of our closing meeting to the client. The client can just watch it at their leisure. And so that's how we handled it. So I think before we move on to the next section, I just want to open it up and see if anyone has questions on just the broader implications of how COVID has impacted the business community, the accounting profession, and how our firm has handled it. And then from there, we'll go into what does this mean for you? What does this mean for you as you kind of go through your last year or two at school and you begin to prepare in earnest for entering the workforce? So Abby, Nicole, I don't know if anything's come in on the chat or if we want to just have people raise their hand in some manner, but we're happy to take some questions now if anyone has any.
I have a question. So for the students that are interning on Martini Akpovi, how will the training be? Will it be, will they start training like in person, and then once they are more confident, will it be like more in-home, like a work from home environment? How will that be in the future?
Yeah, so for us, our next round of interns will be coming in over the summer. And how we do it, frankly, will depend on where we are with COVID. Because, I mean, if things continue to trend the way they are right now, we will probably reopen our office in June and not force anyone to come. But basically say, I mean, our office is open now. On any given day, I mean, we're an essential business, right? So on any given day, anyone can go into the office if they want to. And there's maybe 5 people there out of our 65-ish people. But we're going to officially reopen. And then if we do that, people can go in following appropriate COVID protocols. And our expectation would be is that the internship would be part in-person, part hybrid. But if any particular intern feels very, very strongly about not coming in and sitting in a conference room with other folks, we're not going to make them come, and we're not going to cancel the internship. We'll just do a full remote. And so we've got the technology to do it, and there's really no difference training wise. I mean, instead of walking into someone's office to talk to them, you just send them an instant message and you're on video.
And I could add to that too, Kevin, because I do the training for Martini Akpovi partners. And Kevin hit it spot on that it all depends on, the intern, if they want to come into the office, want to come out of the office. But if they're doing it virtually, it's kind of like this with Zoom, and you're sharing their screen and we're both looking at the same thing, and we're doing it together, the training. But there's really, I did not see any real difference from in-person or virtually, because in person we're in an office together in the conference room doing it together. And then virtually we're doing it over Zoom and we're doing the same thing. We're doing it together, going over the training. So I personally didn't see a difference when it came to the training between virtual and in person.
Yeah, the biggest
Thank-
difference is people are not dressed the same.
Thank you. And I have a question from Brianna through the chat. Her question is, how was training been for new hires and how are they supported in an online world during COVID?
Hey, Chris, you may want to address that because we had a new hire out of CSUN start in February. So he was in the office for like 1 month before everything shut down. And Chris really took ownership of this person. So Chris, why don't you talk about how you worked with Aryan and kind of helping him get through his first year?
Yeah, so well, that 1 month that he was in the office was actually was big because we were able to get through a lot of the training in that 1 month. But when everyone was working remotely, it's what Sean mentioned is that we would schedule meetings and we would or schedule remote meetings, and I would share my screen, he would share his screen, and if he had specific questions, we'd just go over it together via remote. And that's how he was able to build his knowledge of our software that we use and the various programs and the various work that we do.
Thank you, Chris. And I also have another question from Gabriella, and she asked, do you have any time management advice for students with full-time offers who may be working from home when they start?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, I was gonna, yeah. So I would, some advice that I would give is maybe not so much in the work sense, because you may not know what's expected of the work, but things like knowing what is your system to organize and manage your emails, because emails are probably going to be one of the main distractors, as you progress, as you start and as you progress in your career. So that's a great start. Is okay, what's my current system for managing emails, and how can I make that better when I start working? Making those tweaks. So that's one advice I would give. The second advice I would give would be to start understanding the importance of prioritizing, because not everything is going to have the same level of priority. Like, it doesn't need to get done at the same time. So being able to identify what is important, what needs to get done now or sooner than another assignment, that's important, because when you first start off, people are going to ask you to, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And, maybe from your perspective, you're going to think, oh, man, I got to get it done as quickly as, not quickly as possible. I got to get it done. I got to get it done as soon as possible for the assigner. But, just understand that you have to be able to prioritize the work, or else you're going to be all over the place and time is going to feel very short. And the last thing I think is a good time and management advice, especially in accounting. You have to understand, when you start working, your time is time is money, as they say. Our time is billable, right? So instead of, like, an example would be, if you're given an assignment, you don't really understand what you're doing or what exactly you have to do, don't spend the 30, 40 minutes trying to figure it out. Just spend about 10, 15 minutes. And if you still can't figure it out, ask your senior or ask whoever assigned you, hey, can you maybe walk me through this? Because you end up saving more time that way. So it really helps out. So those are just some three advices I have to give.
Thank you, Chris. And those are the questions so far in the chat.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on then. So, all right, so how does all this affect you guys? I think that you really have the ability to have kind of different paths, you know, to how your career is going to look. And so one of the things that I've always told students, I mean, I've told them, I've been doing this for 26 years. So, and I've always told students, you can have a great career in public accounting at a firm of any size. So, you know, there's oftentimes this perception that Big Four is going to give you a better career, but I've seen partners at firms that only have 3 partners that have as good of a career and make maybe as much or more money than the Big Four partners at a small firm. So you can really have a great career at a firm at any size. But I really tell folks, it's got to be about fit. Fit is what's important. It's got to fit for you. So now you've got the ability to look at things differently. You know, what's the firm's culture going to look like in a post-COVID environment? Are they going to be wanting everyone to come into the office? Are they going to be flexible with work from home? You know, what is that going to look like, and what's important to you with your work-life balance? So I think you really need to understand how firms are going to handle that, understand their culture, how they're going to understand training. And there's also emerging practice areas like us with cybersecurity that have come out of COVID. So I think this is a good time for me to hand it over to Chris and Sean, because I think I just got my phone call. And so let me go ahead and check that real quick. And what these guys are going to do for you now is they're just going to kind of walk you through, because they were here pre-COVID, they were here during COVID, and these guys aren't old like me, so they're not so far out of school that they don't know what you guys are thinking, right? And what you guys are going through as you're getting ready. So they've got some thoughts to share with you, and I'm going to turn off my camera and mute myself if I can, so that I can go ahead and do this.
Hey, Chris, I'll start if you're okay with that.
All yours.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to talk about like the pre and the post COVID, and you know, challenges if there was any. As Kevin mentioned, MAP was able to switch to remote work within a week, and overall, with MAP's ability to switch, you know, remotely very efficiently and very quickly, I did not see a difference of pre or even during COVID in terms of the workflow. Now, what I mean by the workflow, I mean from start to finish of getting a return done. And the reason why is, you know, I got 3 monitors here, I got a printer, you know, they got me a chair, and most importantly, it's the resources. So the firm has a virtual library, we have a virtual tax research folder, and most importantly, every manager, every partner, and every staff is still available as if I was in the office. So in the office, I would just go to their door, knock on the door, hey, I need some help. Now, all I have to do is just Skype them, which is almost like a text message. And almost everybody responds within the minute or within 5 minutes. So I didn't see any challenges in terms of my work or anything like that. I still have the same clients. I still have, you know, I was still able to get all the clients done. I was still able to, you know, get help when I needed to get help. But some challenges that I did face were not associated with preparing a tax return or being able to, you know, finish my clients. It was actually more of the training, as Kevin mentioned earlier. At first, it was, you know, difficult with the virtual training because I'm a huge in-person guy. I think it's a lot easier to train someone in person because people get shy and don't really ask questions and don't really want to, you know, speak up virtually. And also, I help Linda with the recruiting. So doing interviews virtually was brand new in, you know, school, or nobody really taught me kind of how to do a virtual interview. And so it was really tough because it felt like it was 21 questions. Because in person, even at CSUN Meet the Firms, you know, we're all at our booth and you just walk around. You guys walk around, I stay at the booth, but you say hi or hello, and you kind of have develop a relationship, and you develop a conversation that just feels natural. But when it came to interviews, it just felt unnatural, and it was just more of a, you know, question and answer back and forth. We couldn't just get that psychological, the friendship relationship. And that's where the biggest difference is for me, you know, pre-COVID and during COVID. Nothing to do with preparing, in my case, tax returns. Chris is, you know, on the audit side. I didn't have any challenges with that because the firm did such a great job of transitioning from working from home, and all of our resources that we had in the office, I had virtually. It was more of the variables that didn't associate with tax, as I said, the training and, you know, the interviews, and that's kind of what I noticed, the big differences between post and current pandemic. That's kind of it, Chris. If you want to lead, or if anybody has any questions, you can ask a question, or if you want to wait till Chris finishes, you can ask after.
Yeah, and actually, I like to turn the tables here, and if maybe some of the students will maybe like to put in the chat, maybe some of the challenges you guys. I don't know how many of you were able to do the recruiting process pre-COVID and during COVID, but it'll be interesting. I'll be interesting to read what your guys' challenges were during those two phases. But you know, but everything that Sean said pretty much applies to me. Maybe even a little less. I think the transition from, you know, at least in our department, you know, pre-COVID to COVID, it's been pretty seamless. In fact, it's probably made things a little bit easier when it comes to travel, because, you know, on the audit side, there are times where, you know, we would have to travel to the client site, and that can be a double-edged sword. You know, obviously, you know, saves your car some mileage, right? Some wear and tear, and, you know, but the other side of it though is you don't really get to interact face to face with the clients, and sometimes when you need to request something, it's much easier to knock on their door and boom, you get your whatever you're asking for. Remotely, I mean, how else has to be done by email, and, you know, they may have other priorities or may not get to it right away as if you're there on site. But other than that, I think the transition has been pretty good. It's been pretty seamless. But I can only imagine from the student's perspective, because I remember at CSUN when I was recruiting, man, it's tough. It's a grind, you know, and that was in person. So I can only imagine what the students, what you guys are going through now with everything being remotely. But, you know, when there's chaos, there's opportunity. And maybe it's a great opportunity to reach out to more firms than you probably wouldn't, you know, be able to, since everything's being held remotely. So, you know, but that's my take on it. And yeah.
Anyone have any questions?
So have we had any questions come in on what Sean and Chris have shared?
I have a question for Chris. So how was it, I guess, pre-COVID, if you say that now students may have time to contact more firms than they thought they would now, how did you do it when you couldn't reach, I guess, certain firms that you wanted to pre-COVID?
Yeah, you know, me, I was knocking on every door. You know, I'm just gonna be honest. I think maybe one semester I was part of the association, but after that I wasn't. So what I was doing, I would go to meet the firms. I would talk with professors. I was just out there. I was just asking. You know, it didn't matter. You know, so I just really put myself out there, just meeting people, talking with people, letting them know what I want to do after college. And hey, the funny thing is, how I actually landed here at MAP was really through a conversation with one of my professors at CSUN. He happened to know one of the partners here at Martini Akpovi Partners, and, you know, after that, we were able to, you know, meet the representatives at the Meet the Firms, and from there, that's how they were able to get in.
Yeah, I think your recruiting strategies, you know, I think can be different and will be different. You frankly have the ability to contact more firms, and you can even contact firms that are not necessarily in LA, right?
Exactly.
Like if you say, you know, I really don't want to be in California anymore. If you're one of those, like, let's go someplace else kind of people, you can recruit out of school, you know, with a firm from the Midwest or from Chicago or something, where it'd be really hard to do that, you know, if everything was in person. So you can really change your strategy based on what you think you want to do and what you want your experience to be like.
Exactly.
All right, so if we don't have any questions, I think we're kind of getting to the natural flows here. So Linda, if you want to share a bit about our internship program and you know how we run that.
Yes, so most years we have a summer internship program and a winter internship program. So winter is part-time for about 6 weeks in January and February. We ask for about 20 hours a week. Summer is full-time in June and July. Hopefully most of you don't have classes then. Yeah, so for this year, when we recruit, we ask for your preference for tax or audit. There is some overlap. So if you join the tax internship program, you would get some exposure to general accounting work and perhaps a little bit of audit. But the reason that we separate them is because that's how it is when you join as a graduate. You join one team or the other. So for this summer, we have actually hired for tax, and we are very close to hiring for audit. But if anybody is interested in being considered for the future, you can always just drop me an email. Vacancies and opportunities are always advertised on Handshake, on our website, usually on LinkedIn as well. Somebody mentioned about LinkedIn for networking. It is fantastic. You can follow as many accounting firms as you want, have a really good look at what they're posting, find out more about their culture. As I mentioned, we had a podcast as well. Some of the firms do as well. They're a great way to research the type of firm that you would like to work for. Those kind of materials will give you a really good insight into what it's actually like to work for the firm. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think Sean and Chris might be able to explain a bit more about what you would do on the internship program, but you would be working on real client work. We would train you either virtually or in person. There's also some case studies, so we make sure that you really understand the different types of accounting and tax problems. One thing I did want to just mention, which can be different working virtually and in person, and particularly if you join a firm for an internship or when you first join, is the social aspect of things, which is a lot more difficult to replicate in a virtual environment. So, I mean, usually when you join a new firm, you will be walked around the office, you'll get to meet everybody, and you bump into people at the coffee machine or at the water cooler. It's a lot harder to have those kind of conversations, to just get to know people, find out what their jobs are, how they can help you in your position, how the firm makes decisions, how things work. So I would just encourage everyone to take advantage of the virtual social activities that are on offer. I know at MAP we have virtual water cooler chats, we have quizzes, just lots of different things going on. And, you know, just reach out to people in different teams as well, especially if you're not quite sure what they do. You know, as an intern, it's your opportunity to learn as much as you can. So yeah, take advantage of that. And if you in person, you would be asking people what they do. So just make sure you do that virtually as well by email and message. Okay, I think that was all I was going to say about it. If anybody has any questions about the internship program, please let us know. Good question, Chris.
All right, so one thing I will share about our internship program, which is different from other firms, because not all firms run their internship programs the same way and with the same objective. So we don't do it to provide a lot of students with the ability to get some experience, and maybe we like, you know, one or two of them. We run it specifically looking for people to hire. It's very purposeful, and that's what our intent is. So when we bring interns in, we are pre-qualifying them as, is this someone that we think we'd want to hire? And then we go through the internship program, and hopefully they like us and we like them, and we extend an offer and they accept it. So, you know, and both Chris and Sean are products of that. They went through our internship program and got hired, but we end up hiring out of every cohort of our internship program. And that's how we look at it, as a way to bring someone on board. So when you do sign up for internship programs, talk to the firms you're looking at and say, you know, how do you run it? What are you trying to accomplish? And if they don't hire out of their internship program, that may not be for you. You know, it may not be worth your time to do that. So I think unless Abby, did any more questions come in? Or are we kind of at the end here?
No questions. They're answering Chris's question of where do they stand in school right now.
Okay, so I think that brings us then to the close then. Linda, anything on how to follow us and how to stay connected with MAP?
Yes, so we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So, and we also post on our blog. So yeah, follow us on those pages and stay in contact.
All right, so Abby, Nicole, anything else that you want to run by us, or you have any closing comments?
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin, Sean, Chris, and Linda for coming today to present to our students that came in to know more about Martini Akpovi and how to overcome all the challenges within the field. And I'll just say the announcements again for those that came in a little late, and Nicole will take our picture before we leave. So on Thursday, the 22nd, we will have our alumni panel where the accounting professionals will share insight on the profession, and you'll get a chance to network with them. So I encourage all of you to attend. And if you're feeling exhausted about midterms and quizzes, we will be having a karaoke night, and everyone is invited. So we hope you'll join us to get your mind off of things and you can relax and enjoy the night. And also spring member apparel has been sent out for those that chose selected mail delivery. We will have a pickup location from 11 to 2 p.m. this Saturday on Northridge Park near CSUN, and the exact location will be shared through the group meet chat. And also the executive applications are open, and those are due on May 3rd at noon, and the directorship applications are due May 15th at 11:59. And if anyone has questions or wants to chat with someone that has experience on these positions, we will have a directive info session next Monday from 12 to 1, and an executive info session right after at 1. So these roles really help develop leadership skills. So we highly encourage you to apply. So Nicole, are you ready for the picture?
Yes, if I can get everybody to give me a big smile. I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today, professionals as well as students. I know super busy, everyone, but we really appreciate it. Okay, so I'll count to 3, and then I'll just make sure. Let me make sure the chat doesn't pop up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile, and just double check. Perfect. Okay, thank you everyone, and that concludes our event. If you don't mind sharing your emails down in the chat, we appreciate that. If not, totally understandable. But thank you, and hope everybody has a good day.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good one.